It makes me very upset that I did not have like a beach house. I'm gonna make sure that my kids can have like a summer love story. I need to start saving up right now. I'm looking at my Squishmallow right now and that doesn't look great, so okay, so I'm very excited for this video because it was directly inspired by like the last 2 books that I'm reading. Actually, one of them I'm still reading right now. All the books that I'm gonna talk about are making me really happy. It's also like very upsetting because I'm like, okay, I want what they have. But yeah, I have a lot of new books that I haven't talked about yet on my channel, so I'm very excited about that. The first one I literally read in a day, and that's Letters to the Lost by 𝐬𝐻𝐬𝐬. Guys, I did not know that she had like a contemporary, hard-hitting, emotional, but also kind of a romance. I don't even know how I came across this book, honestly. I think that I heard the synopsis and it like really drew me in. Dual POV, Declan. I love the name Declan so much. I have no business liking this name. Literally look at me, I have no personal ties. Like for some reason, I really like it. So that's kind of illegal. And then our heroine is a girl named Juliet. Basically, these books are not for the faint-hearted, by the way. These are not like fluffy, cute, contemporary romances. Like they're very distressing. I was literally sitting at our kitchen table literally just now with my friend and she was like, are you okay? You look very distressed. And I said, yeah, I'm very distressed. It's very distressing. I actually like am in physical pain while reading this. Like I just care about these characters so much. Okay, anyway. We have all those 2 characters, Declan and Juliet. Both of them are like grieving one of their family members. And Juliet is having like an Elena Gilbert moment and like writing in a cemetery. Her mother had passed away like a couple months ago. Secretly, she would go to the cemetery and write these letters for her mother and then lay them at her grave. And then we have Declan. He was in juvie for a little bit of time because of an incident that we learn more about. After he was released, a part of his like requirement is that he completes community service, and so he is like the maintenance guy, like mows the lawn for that cemetery. And so then right at the beginning of this book, he comes across one of Juliet's letters, and so he actually like writes back kind of, and then they kind of start having like a back and forth, but it's all anonymous. The twist is that they actually go to the same high school and they do kind of know each other and they don't get along in high school. And normally I hate this trope, okay? Normally I don't like the trope of like anonymous emails or letter writing. A lot of times I just find it like kind of cringy. I don't find like the letters to be believable. I don't really care that much about the relationship in real life, but this was a game changer. Every single chapter literally starts with a letter that the other person wrote. So every chapter starts with them reading that letter and like having a response to it. Oh my gosh, all the letters were just so like personal, so emotional. Like this book is actually so heavy. It deals with a lot of heavy topics. Declan has such like a traumatic childhood, and Juliet is also just going through like a lot of trauma right now. And like the way that they really connect with each other in those letters, I could not put this book down. I literally barreled through the majority of this book in one go. I literally just started it. I climbed to my roommate's bed and I faced the wall like this while she was working. I literally just like started that book and read. I feel like I read probably like 3/4 of it just straight, and I literally have 8 million assignments due this week, so and like, oh, it's just so good. I'm so freaking attached to Declan. I love him so much. Oh, I can't even express how much I loved reading about their relationship. Just like all of the interactions they had like in real life too were not cringy. At first it was a little bit cliche. I was like, oh, is this gonna like go down the path that I think that it's gonna go down? And it really didn't. I don't know why I could like picture it so clearly in my head. Like I literally felt like I was watching like a CW TV show episode like while I was reading this book. Oh my gosh, I don't know what it was about it, but like 𝐬𝐻𝐬𝐬 needs to like release more contemporary books like this, because I feel like I liked her contemporary books like more than I like her fantasy books. And this is like the best slow burn ever. The progression was so amazing. The pacing was absolutely perfect. And like in real life, they have these like little moments. Declan is like such a misunderstood bad guy. Like, no one knows that he's actually really smart. So good with cards, and like he fixes her cards, really giving me The Best of Me by Nicholas Sparks. I barreled through that book. I was so obsessed with it. I could not stop thinking about it. And I was like, oh dear, like this is gonna be a problem. And guess what? Guess what? 𝐬𝐻𝐬𝐬 wrote a companion book called More Than We Can Tell. I'm literally reading it right now. I'm probably gonna finish it right after I finish filming this video because I already know that I'm gonna love it so much. So far, I'm not liking it as much. I'm not as invested in the relationship as much as I was in the first. Still love the relationship a lot though. This one follows Declan's best friend who we meet in Letters to the Lost named Rev. And as soon as we met Rev, I just like loved him. Everybody like begged 𝐬𝐻𝐬𝐬𝐬 to like write Rev his own book, and that's what she did. He has like his own relationship. Immediately became such a fan favorite in the first book, and I'm one of his fans. He's my favorite. Declan and Rev have been like childhood best friends since they were like 7 years old. I just love their relationship and their friendship so much. He'd been in the foster system and then became adopted, and he has such a good heart. This one is like after Letters to the Lost. They're companion books. Technically it's like a sequel, but it can be read as a standalone. That's like how she wrote it. But I would recommend reading Letters to the Lost before. At the start of this book, Rev's biological father, who was incredibly abusive to him. He tries to make contact with Rev again. And then our second POV is a new character, a girl named Emma. Emma is really into like programming and like game development, and she actually like developed her own game, and she starts getting like harassed and like by like an internet troll. Like someone keeps harassing her. One day they just run into each other, but they kind of just like confide a little bit in like this stranger, not expecting anything to come out of it, and they keep meeting and they start like building that relationship. They just make plans to like go and just like talk to each other. I can't talk about this anymore because I haven't finished the book yet, so I'm like still in a state of stress, but I'm probably gonna finish it like as soon as possible. Anyway, I feel like I talked forever about those first two books. Oh, it just makes me like want that. Okay, the next book, another Colleen Hoover book that I read but have never talked about before, but it's actually like one of my favorites, and that's Heartbones. This is such like a good summer lake house like book. We follow our main character. She's a girl named Bea. She also has like a really terrible upbringing, abusive, like dismissive, not their parents. At the beginning of this book, her mother ends up passing away, and so she ends up being sent to go live with her biological father, who she does not have a relationship with, and he is like this like, wealthy man who like lives like by the beach, and he now has his own family, like stepmother, and so now Bea has like a stepsister, and it's just like an entirely new world. Like she grew up like impoverished, and her mother was an addict, and Bea basically had to take care of herself, and they had like no money growing up, and then suddenly she's like thrust into like this whole other world of just like affluent people. It's like such an adjustment, but like nobody knows this about her, like nobody knows about her background. It's like by the beach, so it's kind of like a nice summer vibe. Honestly, like the aesthetic of this book is really immaculate. Wait, I made the Pinterest board for it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is my Pinterest board that I made for Heartbone. You can find my Pinterest account, it's always linked in the description. By the way, I'm sitting here because the mirror is like terribly reflective. But anyway, basically on like the ferry, because they need to take a ferry out to like the place that they live, she ends up meeting this like random guy. Oh, they have just like a bad first interaction. She thinks that he's like so stuck up, and then when she gets to the beach house and meets everyone, and she meets like all of her stepsister's friends, he is actually her stepsister's boyfriend's best friend, and we figure out that his name is Samson. They have like all these preconceived notions about each other. They end up forming a relationship because she finds out that Samson is actually their neighbor, like lives in the house next to them. They would like randomly like go out onto their balconies and like watch the sunrise together, like, but both of them are like really guarded. Like they have their walls go crazy, and we know why Bea is like that, but we don't know anything about Samson. Like we never get his POV or anything. He refuses to tell Bea like literally anything about his life, but he's always like, I'll tell you on like the last day of summer, and you do inevitably find out what it is, and it just changes everything. But let me tell you that this book also has like one of the best epilogue scenes I've ever had in my life. Like I actually was crying so much in this epilogue scene. Like it is really tragic, like the ending of this, but then like the epilogue is so freaking, it's just like after everything that they went through, the epilogue went crazy. Why have I not heard a lot of people talking about this book? I'm just gonna leave it off with my one last recommendation. Well, it's actually like 3 books because it's a trilogy. It's the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han, which I also read recently, and I vlogged it, and instantly has become like one of my favorite series of all time now. And again, like I just get so attached to the characters. Follow a girl named Belly. We have Belly, her brother, and 2 brothers from another family named Jeremiah, and then the older brother is named Conrad. And basically their 2 families have been really close, and every single summer they would go to like the beach house, so they would like always spend the entire summer together. Belly was like the only girl there. The other 3 boys would play together, but Belly always felt like left out. We follow her when Belly has just turned 16. It's kind of like coming of age because people are like noticing her more. We follow like this love triangle that happens between Belly, Jeremiah, and Conrad. Belly has been in love with Conrad for her entire life, so we follow like that love triangle over like a lot of years. Every chapter like jumps in time, from like when they're like really little kids, 7-8 years old, to like in present day when they're like 16ish. If anyone's read this trilogy, you can share your thoughts below, but I'm so sorry. I love everyone. I do love everyone. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to not be on team Conrad. I love Conrad. I think that he's like such a misunderstood guy, and you can't change my mind about that. I'm so sorry. I know that people have like conflicting opinions about like Conrad and Jeremiah, but honestly, Heartbones and The Summer I Turned Pretty makes me very upset that I did not have like a beach house. I'm gonna make sure that my kids can have like a summer love story, and then they can fall in love with a neighbor and have like a childhood friends lovers. I need to start saving up right now. Okay, I actually have to go right now. That's all the books that I want to talk about in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, what books make you want to fall in love. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at sunnykimchannel.